What's the biggest differences of like sense of humor of British people and Singaporeans?
This is a really hard one to answer because I became a comedian, or a stand-up comedian in Singapore.
Yeah.
So I'm so used to the way it works here. But then I go back to the UK and it's this very quirky, very nuanced type of comedy, and it's clever and like wholeheartedly British. So it's really hard to articulate. I think British comedy is different from any other comedy because everything is like a story and is thought through so much, and like we think about it almost too much. And actually the bigger comparison I make is like American and English comedy. Like I have really close friends who are comedians in the US, and their jokes are like, they don't overthink it. They're not stories. They're just like punchline, 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 funny, straightforward. Whereas I'm there trying to write this whole like very complicated, long story with jokes. So it's really different. But Singapore, I would say the comedy scene is newer. So it's still finding its identity, maybe.
I just came from Europe, and I had listened to some lecture of like some MBA professor. So the lecture was about the cultural differences between like different countries, and like the US is okay. The feature of US is very low context, meaning people explain everything, and there are countries where people don't explain. Like you need to know why. Well, you need to know the background, the hidden part.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. And like the UK, we don't like to explain our punchlines. We're like, I'm going to throw you like a thinker. You're going to just sit there with it. Like, I don't care if you don't get it straight away.
The scene is developing right now.
Yes.
What other features of the local scene? More like Australian, more like British, more like American?
The comedians that I see here in Singapore who are already successful are so smart, and their humor is so good. It's very local humor. I think that's the defining thing for Singapore for me. First of all, of course, there's no, unlike say the US, there's no humor about drugs. It doesn't tend to be particularly controversial here, particularly offensive. You know, which I see as a good thing because I'm not an offensive comedian, although there are people that tell those kind of jokes who are great on this scene. So I think it's kind of quite, not completely clean, but it's not super controversial or super offensive. As I say, lots of local references. So it's just Singapore. I don't know if I would say it's like any other country necessarily. I
was at like a few months ago. It was the Scottish comedian. I forgot the name.
Matt.
Probably, but he was pretty harsh. Like jokes are pretty harsh. Jokes about drugs, but mainly but maybe it's a different one.
Oh no, okay, I was going to say not here in Singapore.
In
right?
Singapore.
Singapore, okay.
Yeah, but drugs about like in Scotland. So maybe that's the way.
Maybe
you can make jokes about drugs in another country. Not
maybe I just haven't heard them. Yeah.
I noticed there are a lot of jokes about like racial jokes.
Yeah.
And relationship between like Chinese, Malay, Indian, this kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, that is for Singaporeans to make those jokes. I would never make them. I didn't grow up here. I don't, I don't have that context. But yeah, that's true. People are comfortable to make, Singapore is such a multicultural society already that I think people are comfortable to reflect on that in their comedy. Yeah.
Well, let's say your jokes about dating, they are more universal.
They are universal, yeah.
And basically same jokes would work in Australia and in the UK,
yes,
right?
Absolutely. So sometimes I switch up small things. The joke about getting PR here doesn't work elsewhere. Sometimes I tell it and say like, I'm trying to get Singapore citizenship because it's the strongest passport in the world. It doesn't hit the same though. But I'm lucky, like the crowds here are so international. So my comedy kind of works everywhere. If
you joke about it, I'm trying to get the British passport. Doing something, it doesn't work because it's a clear system. It's like a years-based system or points-based system, like in some countries. And Singapore is like a black box.
Absolutely, so absolutely. So maybe that is how I get PR. I don't know.
Yeah, to be a comedian, you need to be a little bit on the edge. But in Singapore, as you mentioned, it's kind of maybe hard to be on the edge sometimes.
Yeah.
Does it downgrade your comedy level?
I am conscious of what I say for 3 reasons. First of all, I'm a guest here. I love this country. Second of all, I have a corporate job. And third of all, I'm a parent. So all of those 3 things make me less free to say absolutely anything that comes to mind ever. Not that anything particularly controversial ever comes up, but those 3 things do always come into mind when I'm writing. And I'm super conservative about it as well, because they're all important things to me. Would I be able to write differently without them? Yeah, probably. And some of my favorite comics are the people that don't have those things in their minds, because they're much freer with their comedy. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay.
How can you make money as a stand-up comedian in Singapore?
So what the comics here do that do it full-time, actually not my version of full-time where I do, as many evenings as I can, but actual full-time, they do corporate gigs, they do, they sell their own shows, that makes them money, I suppose sponsorship, Fuck a Fuzz, and a couple of the guys, they have a really well-known podcast. I don't know if they make money out of it. I don't know the details behind it, but there's all different things that you can do to build a profile and to build a brand. And, with that comes more opportunities, and travel, of course. People travel to do comedy, which is a great way to make money out of it.
As far as I know, how people make money, so they you need to be visible, and sometimes you start to be visible through TV first.
Yeah.
Then you grow your following on Instagram, or you start your own channel on YouTube.
Yeah.
Then you have a fan base, and then you make money on stand-up shows. So you tour different cities.
Yep.
And second one, you start selling sponsorships. So you do
absolutely. Merchandise, of course, if you get to that level. Exactly what you said. There's all these different ways to do it. Social media is a huge thing. Trying to build a social media platform, I find it harder. I don't have as much time, but I think that's where that's where people see your stuff. That's where you find the people that buy the tickets.
I think that maybe the sweet spot is like a blogger plus comedian.
Yes, something else, comedian plus. There are so many opportunities. It's definitely the way forward.
By the way, we have the 12-month program, how to grow following on YouTube. So link below.
Maybe I need that.
But you also have a full-time job.
I do have a full-time job. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you think the transition from the corporate full-time job to purely stand-up comedian job is possible in Singapore?
For me, I'm a single parent, so it's not, it's really unlikely I would ever be in a financial position where I could give up my job. But I love my job. This is always a misconception that people have. They're like, oh, you must hate your corporate job, and because you have this creative thing. But that's not true at all. I've spent 20 years building that career, and I'm really proud of it, and I love the job. So I'm actually very happy that I get to do both things.
Yeah.
One day would I like to be a full-time comedian? Of course. I feel like that's always the dream for anyone with a hobby that they love. But people always say to me, do you do comedy full-time? And I'm like, I kind of do it full-time, because I do it as much as I can do it, but it's not my full-time job.